Welcome to On the Level, a half-hour program dedicated to sharing the genuine zeal for the craft of Freemasonry here in Western Massachusetts. One of the first lessons that all Freemasons are taught is that the whole human species is born of the same one almighty parent. Therefore, as inhabitants of the same planet, it is incumbent on all of us to aid, support, and protect each other. On this very basic principle, Freemasonry unites men from every country, sect, and opinion, and conciliates true friendship amongst those who might otherwise have remained at a perpetual distance. It is our intention to attract new members to seek out our fraternity. There are approximately 25,000 Freemasons in Massachusetts alone. We are sure you personally know some of us. Attitudes are contagious. We hope you feel that ours are worth catching. My name is Jimmy Berghoff. I am a past master of Pacific Lodge here in Amherst, and I have with me in the studio tonight brothers Jose Vega and brother Scott Meyer, who are both active members of Mount Tom Lodge in Holyoke. I got to say that right. Holyoke and Amherst without the H. Welcome, my brothers. It's an honor to have you on this first show. Really is. And I was hoping that you would agree to this because in my eye, you both stand out as really true Masons in your heart, where you are so giving of yourselves to others. I mean, you both have plenty to do. You're both married or fiancé.
Soon to be married.
And you both have kids. And right there, that's more than enough. And employed. You have your own business, right?
Yes.
Vinyl lettering and banner making.
Yep.
And Brother Vega works for the state government of Connecticut. I have my own business as a local mover, professional upright bass player in the area. And, there's still only 24 hours in the day that we can do what we do, but yet, well, in Worshipful Vega's instance, because Jose is a past master of Mount Tom Lodge. He was head of the lodge 2015 into 16, is that
Yes,
correct?
That's correct. And actually, Scott happened to be my secretary.
Right,
Yes.
Scott,
Yeah.
you're still the secretary?
I am not. I
You
am
are
the
not.
assistant secretary
Okay.
now. 1 year was plenty.
But the fact that you took upon yourself to be secretary, which is a huge responsibility, in only your second year?
I was
First?
about 3 months raised.
Well, that's amazing right there. I didn't attempt to become an officer in Pacific Lodge till I was a member for probably 10 years
Yeah.
before I ever assumed any leadership role.
I learned how a Masonic Lodge worked real fast.
It was very kind of Scott to actually
It is a big job.
become my secretary and the lodge secretary, because we were in dire need of the secretary, because the secretary, which was supposed to have been installed, there were some personal matters and illness that came about, and so he had to drop out of the lodge. So graciously and generously, Scott jumped in after we had a brief meeting, and I explained how important it is to continue our Masonic work. And
work, right. And you, Brother Vega, you are a star within the 27th District. You are truly loved.
well, thank you. Thank
No,
you. for
it's
that.
true, and you've earned it. How have you earned it? Because you have exhibited the ability to memorize ritual very well and bring it to life.
Thank
There's
you.
a difference between repeating what you learned by rote and repeating what you learned by rote and bringing it to life. And it's very helpful to everybody who hears when you step in to help with some degree work in one of the 7 lodges within the 27th district. There are 7 lodges in the 27th Masonic District. Let's start here in Amherst, Pacific Lodge, Vernon Lodge in Belchertown, Mount Holyoke Lodge, South Hadley Falls, Mount Tom Lodge in Holyoke, and Hampshire Lodge in Haydenville.
Chicopee Lodge.
Oh, yes, of course. Chicopee Lodge in South Hadley Falls. And lastly, and certainly not least, is Jerusalem Lodge in Hatfield.
Yes.
And we all aid one another. Of course, we can go out of the district, too. I believe there's 214 lodges in the state of Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I believe that's about the right number.
Yeah.
13, I think, yeah. But
And, we all are welcome, once you become a Master Mason 3rd degree, to visit any of those lodges. But here in the 27th District, we seem to be a tight-knit bunch and willing to really help one another out when we need help. And we even do certain goodwill gestures as a district as opposed to just a lodge.
Absolutely.
There is something that I'm very impressed with you, Brother Meyer, in terms of your Donate Life. Do I call it a foundation? Can you explain what that is?
Donate Life is an organ procurement organization, and basically what they do is they help raise awareness for organ donation throughout the United States, and they work with the families of deceased donors and living donors as well, and they work with the people who are waiting for organ donations. As of right now, there's over 125,000 people in our country alone waiting for an organ donation. And myself, I received one November 13th, 2013. I received a kidney, and luckily it's still going well. And so that's part of my dedicated life work, is to raise awareness on organ donation and get people signed up, and hopefully we save more lives.
And you've managed to somehow bring that together with the assistance of Grand Lodge in helping you spread that awareness.
Yep, so we are working with a couple different lodges out in Eastern Mass, as well as the 27th District, where we're going to be the beneficiaries of an upcoming cook-off.
Oh, the chili contest.
The chili contest.
October 28th.
Yes.
In Williamsburg.
We'll be at Attleboro, so I think that's the Ezekiel Bates Lodge. There's a farmer's market out there where we're going to be teaming up with the Freemasons of that lodge, and basically handing out information, signing people up if they want to sign up, and educating the public about organ donation.
Yes, I know on my driver's license there is a little heart printed on it. And I believe that is requested when you renew your license, whether you wish to be a donor or not.
Yep. Anytime that you go to the registry, you can always check that box off. We do tell people if you do have it on your license, still check it off, and it just reassures that you're on the list. Or you can go to registerme.gov or donatelife.org, and it takes 3 seconds to sign up, and it's that simple. And one person could have the potential of saving at least 8 people.
I saw a video the other day of a family that gathered to hear the heart of their 11-year-old son who passed away years before in the breast of a woman.
Yeah.
And it was touching.
It is very touching, and every time I see those videos, my eyes are not dry. It brings me back to what I went through and what 125 other thousand people are going through in the U.S. right now.
That's very helpful to humanity, which brings us back to the principle of us
Absolutely.
aiding and assisting everybody on the planet because we're
course.
all of the same parent. Absolutely. Brother Vega, what is going on in your lodge these days as an outreach to the community?
A few years back, Scott and I in the lodge had put together a lodge scholarship for the three local
Oh, that's right.
high schools.
Yeah, I played music
technical
for
school,
that supper,
the,
as I recall.
the local high school, and the charter school. And this was our second annual, which we had just completed. And we had, the first year we had given out 9 scholarships. And then the second year we were able to give out 3. Primarily because there were just so few applicants, even though there was a lot of outreach to the community. I don't know if the kids just didn't want to apply or what happened. So we gave out 3 $500 scholarships this year.
That's
But
awesome.
we've always had a great turnout. The first year and the second even better.
Yeah.
We've had
It is named after a deceased brother.
right. We had a brother who became physically ill, was hospitalized, and died of a type of bacterial infection. So in his honor, we decided, okay, let's put together this lodge scholarship, which is so we can not only remember him and honor him, but also help our community and ensure that
Right.
we're helping kids.
Was it within the brothers of your lodge, or did it come from the community?
It's probably about 75% from the community
Really?
as support through Seth T. Bachek's family,
Yeah.
his mom and dad and his family and friends, and the Masons. So we were able to bring together a little over 100 people at that dinner, and that's how the scholarship is actually funded.
That's, to me, very interesting
Yeah.
because the most successful community outreach that Pacific Lodge in Amherst has is what is known as the Angel Fund. And that specifically is to aid elementary school students, basically, who are on a free lunch program. That's the only requirement, to help them with things such as winter boots, winter coat, eyeglasses, eye exam, something like that. And it's usually the guidance counselors and the assistant principals who watch these kids getting on and off the bus and see that, maybe they're not dressed properly. And they know that they can come to us. And we try to basically anonymously get them these things within 24 hours. And we tell all the elementary schools that don't worry about the money, it's up to us to figure that part out. And we have helped in the last 8 years over 700 local kids. So personally, I'm very proud of that.
It's amazing.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I suppose sometime I should bring in the chairman of that committee. That's a good
Absolutely.
idea. But what I was alluding to is that consistently the money that the Angel Fund collects to give out to these kids, 90% or more comes from within the brotherhood. That it's not the community, even though we have tried to, through the Chamber of Commerce or just through other methods, tried to get money for the Angel Fund. It doesn't happen. That it's the generosity of the brothers that steps up to the plate year after year.
Yeah.
So I suppose every town is different. Something of that nature.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
I take it for granted that you're proud to be Freemasons. And I would simply like to know, to you, as a person, why you enjoy Freemasonry today. Could I start with you?
It first started for me when
This is 8 years ago that you became
eight.
a
Yeah,
Brother.
it's going on 9 years now. Yeah,
Did you have any family members that
I did.
were
My
Masons?
my father-in-law is a Mason, and he's a Mason in France.
Oh,
Yep, he's from Lille, the northern part of France, and so I became familiar with that. And I have some friends who were Masons. So about 8-9 years ago, I became interested in Masonry, but my interest and curiosity in Masonry started much sooner than that. In fact, it started when I was about maybe 12 years old,
wow.
when I used to skateboard right by the lodge in Holyoke at 235 Chestnut Street.
Beautiful building.
Yes, it
That's
is.
a beautiful
Yeah.
building, by the way. I
Yeah.
love that building, across from the new library.
What was going on is that I would always see these men standing out front in suits,
Yeah.
and they really looked mysterious. So I used to ride my skateboard by every time they would be meeting, but not too close because I thought they were going to be pulling me in.
Yeah. they might- yeah.
But I later found that
funny.
they were the Masons, and all these years I thought it was something a little bit different. But I've always had a curiosity about that Masonic building, but I didn't learn that it was actually Masonry until much later. But essentially, I became interested in Masonry first and foremost for its mystery. When just to start, because when you think about Masonry, you don't really know exactly what it's all about, because
And the
you only
definition changes too as you learn more.
the thing is that you only know what you see
Yeah.
on television, or what you Google on the internet, or what you hear in
Yeah.
passing, or you hear from a friend. Oh, they're here to take over the
Right.
world. They're here to do this and that. So you really don't begin to learn about Masonry until you actually start the process of meeting with Masons and asking exactly what we do. How do you become a Mason? And I can talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure that the viewers might be wondering, well, if I ever want to become a Mason, how do you go about doing it? Well, the first thing you do is you ask
Yeah, ask. Ask a
another
Mason.
Mason.
And if you don't know to ask, I have the Grand Lodge phone number.
Or website, yeah.
Yeah, well, the phone, I always call.
Why not?
Area code 617-426-6040. 186 Tremont Street, Boston.
That's correct. Beautiful building. Yep.
Amazing building.
Yeah,
Right across from the Boston Commons.
that's right. I didn't know exactly what it really was, but as you're going through the process of becoming a Mason, which is actually going through the process of application, a background check, and then the lodge actually votes on whether or not it's favorable for you to become a Mason or not, because there's somewhat of an investigation and some kind of sponsorship. Not just anyone can become a Mason, so there's somewhat of a process, as you know.
We try to figure out whether it's good for you and good for us.
Right.
Trying to be honest,
Yeah.
it's not a good, every organization is
Yeah.
maybe a good or not a good fit for somebody.
Right, but it's interesting because not everyone that comes in Masonry starts the way they came in. You learn to kind of improve yourself in a sense, because what you learn in Masonry while you're going through the different degrees, which there are 3 of them in Blue Lodge, which is the Masonry that we are in, which is Blue Lodge Masonry, which when you become a Master Mason, you go through 3 degrees, the 1st, 2nd, and the 3rd degree. Once you go through those 3rd degrees, the 3rd degree, which is the Master Mason degree, then you become a Master Mason. So you have the first one, which is an entered apprentice, second one, which is a fellow craft, and the third one, which is a Master Mason. After you do that, then you become a Master Mason. You can attend all the Masonic functions at any other of the lodges. If they're opening on a 3rd degree Master Mason degree, You can travel around the world. I've done that. I've
Yes.
traveled in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, gone to Scotland, London, France, Italy. So you meet a brother no matter where you go. So part of me becoming a Mason was that, I liked it because it gave me a prescription to really how to live a good life through our tenets. And those are things that you really learn as you're going through your degrees. And you really have to listen carefully, because in Masonry, especially nowadays, sometimes it's like you need a lot of immediate gratification. So when Masons come into the organization, they go in at a much more accelerated pace. Early on,
Yeah, it used to be one degree a year.
that's
even.
correct. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
But so it's
No rush. We shouldn't rush these good things.
precisely.
Good things should not be rushed.
Yeah. But so what happens when you're going through the degrees, as Worshipful Bergdorf had mentioned early on, it would take much longer for you to become or develop a proficiency in that specific degree, learn more about the ritual, learn about the actual tenets that we have,
Yeah.
and be able to share that and demonstrate that to your fellow brother
Yeah.
and the lodge itself. But now it's a more accelerated thing, so the first, second, and third degree could happen within a few months' time.
Yeah.
So the real challenge is, if you're going at that accelerated pace, we're trying to pull someone in to give them a sense of purpose. How are they going to function in the lodge as a brother, giving them a job, giving them some kind of
Yeah.
something to do, some kind of an idea.
Right.
So for me, it was basically trying to learn that prescription, or I guess rule book, in terms of how you want to live your life, and being able to go by that and help not only the community, but your brothers and anyone without inconvenience to yourself in that sense, which is one
Yeah.
of the tenets.
Right.
So it's quite something. I recommend it to any man who wants it. Freemasonry, just so you know, it's a fraternity, so it's only for men, but there are different
Appended,
bodies which
women.
participate in,
Yes.
which are great as well.
Yeah.
But Blue Lodge Freemasonry is basically for men.
Brother Meyer, can you briefly tell us the zeal that you find in Masonry? And I take it for granted that you're glad and proud to be a Mason.
Oh, I mean, there's no secret. I love Freemasonry. I mean, I wear the bling. I've got the shirts. It's all over my car. I love Freemasonry, and I love what we do for the community, but I love what we do for each other.
Yeah.
We're not just a brotherhood. We are a family, and we're not just a family to our brothers. We're a family to our brother's family too. If anybody ever reached out to us and said, "Listen, my family needs help," we're there to help. In a whole, we can go from here to Pennsylvania, and if we find out that we're in trouble, we need some kind of help while we're in Pennsylvania, we can turn to a fellow Mason down there and
Yeah.
get help. And it's just amazing what we do for our fraternity as well as what we do for the community. I mean, Jose is not just a brother to me. He's family. His family is family. I have the distinct honor, he's going to marry me and Kim at our lodge. So it's
You have to get
That's correct,
special
yeah.
dispensation from the Commonwealth.
Yes, to
Yes.
do that. That's
Yes.
correct.
So I mean, when you become a brother, it's one thing, but as you grow in Freemasonry, you get more of a bond with your brothers and with their families. And
Yes.
you just, I feel you don't find that in a lot of other places.
Very true.
When people are walking about in the street, you would never know that they're a Mason. It is not until you enter in a lodge, it could be within your district, or if you're visiting another district,
Yeah.
that you might run into someone that, would
Yeah.
very much surprise you.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I work in Connecticut, and we were doing this contract work with this Masonic brother from a lodge in Connecticut called Washington 70, Bob McKay. All these years I had been doing contract work with him, and all this time I noticed that he had been helping this kind of indigent person. He had given them an apartment and helped them. And I said, wow, this is quite something. This is pretty remarkable, that he's been helping them all these years. Lo and behold, I had gotten together a 17 Mason suite, and we had traveled to Washington 70 in Windsor, Connecticut. And as we walk into this dinner, and then we walk into the lodge room, and we all sit down and take a good quarter of the room, I look over and I said, this is Bob McKay. I said, are you kidding me? And this is going on for like 10 years that I never knew that he was a Mason. So lo and behold, you never know when you're going to run into someone who's, a Mason and could be doing good work, which is it's pretty amazing.
In closing, I would like to say that we're not supposed to get by in this life on our own. And it's often harder to allow somebody to help us than to help others. And we learn some of that humility over time in Masonry. One of the things I like is that we're asked to aid and assist a brother, Master Mason, his widow and orphans, to the ability that we feel we can without injury to ourselves or family. So, we each have our own cable tow. We like the word cable tow, the length of how far we can help one another, and nobody tells us how long that cable tow is. I too am very grateful to be a Mason, very honored. And without this organization, I would have never met you two fine gentlemen, and very proud to call you my friends. Thank you once again for being on this first show of On the Level.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's been great. It seems like the time has
Consider
gone by
yourself
quickly.
head. Yes. Okay.
And we could talk for much longer.
We could talk for a long time.
Yeah, and I encourage and welcome folks to ask. Because we'd love to educate folks, even if it's just a tour.
All right. Well, thank you, and I thank you for watching this program. Bye-bye.